Jeyne Poole is one of the many characters from the Song of Ice and Fire books that, while did make an appearance in the early seasons of Game of Thrones, disappeared without a trace, never to be mentioned, with her book role, especially from A Dance with Dragons, being repurposed for another character entirely, in arguably one of the most controversial and biggest changes from the book the writers made that had the consequence of drastically changing the path of the story on the show, as well as fundamentally changing a main point of view character. Jeyne Poole is a member of House Poole, a minor northern house, born in around 286 AC, making her around 11 years old during the events of the first book. She is the daughter of the steward of Winterfell, Ramsay Bolton, and a close friend of Sansa Stark. Jeyne is said to be an attractive girl with brown eyes, dark hair, and pretty white teeth. She would often mock Sansa's younger sister Arya Stark as Arya Horseface, smirking and neighing when the younger girl was near. Conversely, Jeyne is fond of Sansa's brother, Robb Stark, and thinks the Stark ward, Theon Greyjoy, is handsome, as seen during the events of A Game of Thrones. During the visit of King Robert Baratheon's party to Winterfell, during a needlework session with Princess Myrcella Baratheon, Jeyne claims that Sansa Stark has caught the eye of Joffrey Baratheon. Later, when Lord Eddard Stark is named as the new Hand of the King, Ramsay Bolton travels with him to King's Landing. Jeyne accompanies him, remaining as Sansa's companion in the Tower of the Hand. During the Hand's tourney, she declares that she will marry Lord Beric Dondarrion. When she first sees the dashing lord, after Sir Hugh the Vale dies in the tourney, Jeyne cries hysterically and is escorted away by Septa Mordane to regain her composure. Sansa and Jeyne discuss Eddard's appointment of Lord Beric as the leader of an expedition to arrest Sir Gregor Clegane, who has been raiding the Riverlands. Sansa says Sir Loras Tyrell would have been a better appointment, but Jeyne believes that Beric is as much of a hero. Sansa thinks Jeyne's crush on Beric is silly, as he is twice her age and would consider a steward's daughter to be far beneath him. Jeyne's father, Ramsay Bolton, is killed in the massacre of Lord Eddard Stark's household following his arrest for treason after the death of King Robert Baratheon. But Jeyne is spared after Sandor Clegane breaks down her door with a warhammer. Sir Boros Blunt of the Kingsguard brings her to the room in Maegor's Holdfast where Sansa Stark has been confined. Jeyne tells Sansa about the massacre, though she does not know what has happened to her father. The girls cradle each other in the same bed for comfort, and Jeyne cannot stop crying. When Sansa is called before Queen Cersei Lannister and the Small Council, she mentions that Jeyne has been confined with her. This annoys Cersei, who chides Sir Boros for not asking first, as the Queen preferred Sansa ignorant of what had happened to Eddard's household. Lord Peter Baelish says he will find a place for Jeyne, not in King's Landing. Queen Cersei Lannister orders Sir Boros to take Jeyne to Lord Peter's apartments and assure that Littlefinger will take her to her father. When Sansa is returned to her tower room, Jeyne and all of her things have gone, and that is the last Sansa Stark sees of her. While being held a prisoner of Queen Cersei in the Red Keep, Sansa misses her vanished friend and wonders what happened to her. Later on, during the Battle of the Blackwater, Sansa sings and prays for her friends and family, the living and dead, including Jeyne. During the events of A Storm of Swords, at Harrenhal, Lord Roose Bolton lies to Sir Jaime Lannister that Arya Stark has been found, and that he intends to return her to the north. While in King's Landing, Jaime says his farewells to Stillshanks Walton, Roose Bolton's captain of the guard, before he returns north. Accompanying Walton is a northern girl who claims to be Arya Stark. Although Jaime does not recognize her, the girl is hollow-eyed and skinny with big brown eyes, and Jaime thinks she's older than Arya Stark should be. She wears a grey dress and a grey cloak with white satin trim, clasped with a wolf brooch with opal eyes. She tells Jaime she's happy to be marrying Lord Roose Bolton's legitimized bastard, Ramsay. Jaime tasks Brienne of Tarth with finding Sansa and bringing her to safety, as her late mother, Lady Catelyn Stark, had made them swear to do. As Jaime and Brienne were also commanded by Catelyn to bring her Arya, Jaime tells Brienne that the girl that they brought north by the Boltons is not Arya Stark, believing she's some northern girl found by his father, Lord Tywin Lannister, and dressed up like a Stark in order to cement the Bolton claim to Winterfell. Brienne is shocked, but Jaime explains that with all of Arya's kin believed dead, beside her missing sister Sansa and her half-brother Jon Snow on the the wall, no one will be able to dispute the girl's identity. According to Jaime, the Boltons are aware of the girl's fraud. During a Feast for Crows, Jaime is proven to be correct when Cersei Lannister tells the small council that Arya Stark will soon be marrying Ramsay Bolton. She thinks that as long as the girl plays her role well, the Boltons will not care if she's actually the steward's whelp, dressed up as Peter Baelish, implying that this fake Arya is in fact Jeyne. During the events of A Dance with Dragons, as Arya Stark, Jeyne accompanies the host of Lord Roose Bolton from the twins to the siege of Moat Cailin, where she meets her groom, Ramsay Bolton. Theon Greyjoy, at this point, now Reek, a captive of Ramsay, recognizes Jeyne instantly, as he grew up alongside her at Winterfell. The Boltons call upon the Northern Bannermen to assemble at Barrowton to pledge loyalty to the Iron Throne and attend the wedding of Arya to Ramsay. After Roose hears that Stannis Baratheon has taken Deepwood Motte, he decides to move the wedding to Winterfell, both to strengthen Ramsay's claim and to goad Stannis into a fight. All the while at Castle Black, Melisandre tells Jon Snow, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, she had a vision of a girl in grey atop a dying horse fleeing from a wedding, and they believe her to be Jon's half-sister, Arya. Melisandre sends a disguised Mance raider with 6 spearwives to find and protect the girl. Mance infiltrates Winterfell as a singer named Abel, with the spearwives disguised as washerwomen. Jeyne pleads with Theon that they should flee the castle together, but the tortured Theon insists that Jeyne continue impersonating Arya. Theon gives this fake Arya away during the wedding in the Godswood of Winterfell. Theon considers cutting Jeyne's throat to end her misery, or killing Ramsay, but he is too fearful to do so. Later that night, Ramsay has Theon strip Jeyne for the bedding, and Theon sees numerous scars covering Jeyne's back where she's been whipped. Ramsay asks Jeyne if she knows how to please a man, and Jeyne replies fearfully that she has been trained to, which suggests that she has been kept in one of Peter Baelish's brothels after being removed from the Red Keep. Ramsay then forces Theon to prepare Jeyne for him before he beds her himself. Jeyne spends all her time confined to Ramsay's bedchamber in the Great Keep, and she is deeply traumatized by the things Ramsay does to her. The maids who bathe her notice bruises on her body, and the girl's sobbing is heard throughout Winterfell. According to Lady Dustin, the crying of Arya Stark is more dangerous to the Boltons than any army Stannis Baratheon could muster. The Freys may not care, but the other northern houses who had served House Stark for generations would, and morale is being damaged from hearing Eddard Stark's daughter cry. Although Stannis' host is slowed by a blizzard during his march on Winterfell, the northern mountain clansmen are motivated to rescue Ned Stark's girl. Mance Raider's washerwomen convince Theon to help rescue Arya, but Theon keeps Jeyne's true identity a secret from Mance, fearing if he knew that it was really Jeyne, they would not be willing to help them escape. By this time, tension in Winterfell has turned to chaos after the death of Little Walder Frey, and the Spearwives take that opportunity to begin their attempt to rescue Arya. Theon and the washerwomen approach Jeyne's room with water for a bath, but she's terrified to leave, thinking it a trap by Ramsay to test her love. Theon finally convinces Jeyne the escape is real and helps her dress, though the Spearwives are horrified by what Ramsay has done to her body. They dress her, and Theon tells Jeyne to follow Holly closely, and not to run. As they are escaping, Frenya kills one of the Bolton men, which causes Jeyne to scream, alerting the other guards. Jeyne and Theon reach the top of the walls, only to realise the rope has been left with Frenya, who is fighting down below. Guards by this point are shooting arrows at them, and Theon knows he and Jeyne will be returned to Ramsay if they are caught, and punished severely. Theon grabs Jeyne and jumps from the battlements. The two survive due to landing in deep snow, although Theon lands on top of Jeyne and breaks some of her ribs. Jeyne and Theon are discovered by Mors Umber, who is Tycho Nestoris of the Iron Bank, bring the escapees to Stannis' camp in the Crofters village. During the ride to the camp, Jeyne suffers from frostbite on her nose. Meanwhile, at Castle Black, Lord Commander Jon Snow receives a letter in which Ramsay claims that Mance has been captured and his spearwives slain. Ramsay demands that his bride be returned to him, and a number of free folk volunteer to march with Jon against the bastard Bolton. But then, before he can act, he is stabbed in a mutiny at Castle Black. During the Winds of Winter sample chapters, Theon, now a captive as Stannis, recalls that after he and Jeyne were rescued by Mors Umber outside Winterfell, Crowsfoot asked Jeyne questions about the castle to confirm her identity, such as the names of servants including the cook and the smith. Having lived at Winterfell, Jeyne was able to answer these questions to Morse's satisfaction. Theon remembers that as he carried Jeyne on their track to Stannis' camp, he told her that she must still pretend to be Arya, otherwise she will be nothing to them but a whore. It is feared that Jeyne will lose a part of her nose to the frostbite, but Theon recalls assuring her that nobody will care what Arya Stark looks like, and that every man will still want to marry her. Stannis decides to send Arya to the Wall to reunite her with her brother, Jon Snow. Theon believes that Jon will see through Jeyne's disguise in a moment, but he cannot say so. Stannis tasks Justin Massey to bring Jeyne to Castle Black with an escort of 6 men, along with a female companion, Alysanne Mormont. Justin and Tycho are then to continue on to Braavos, and until The Winds of Winter is published, that is all we currently know of Jeyne Poole. The cutting of Jeyne Poole from the TV show is a bit of an odd one, as she was introduced into the show and then promptly forgotten about. I found the showrunner's choice to drastically alter Sansa Stark's Vale plotline from the book and replace it effectively with Jeyne's storyline from A Dance with Dragons a really bizarre choice. It was clear by that point the writers were trying to cut the story down as much as they could by their treatment of the Dornish and the Ironborn plots, but I don't think anyone thought Sansa's Vale plot and the more complex Northern plots would fall victim to this too. Both the Vale and the North are complex political situations in the book. I just don't think the showrunners wanted to spend the time needed to do them right. They effectively fit both A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons into one season of the TV show, rather than the 3 it should have taken. Thus why I think if you're attempting to fit 3 seasons of book content into one, I can see why merging the 2 plots seemed appealing. Sadly, I just don't think it worked well at all. But here's the thing, even if they had spent time to adapt the book more accurately, I believe Jeyne's fake Arya storyline would still have been drastically altered. Not just because of the key characters such as Mance were dead in the show, but more importantly, when Sansa took her place in the show, there was outrage across more casual fans and the media about the darker side of the plot, specifically Ramsay's sexual assault of Sansa. Now, it is true, Ramsay and Sansa's wedding night is not easy to watch at all, and it's totally understandable why many felt outraged at it, but can you imagine how much more severe the outrage would have been if they had adapted what had happened to Jeyne? Not just the wedding night, but her time being forced to work in Littlefinger's brothel. The wedding night itself is so much darker than the show version, and it's only scratching the surface of what kind of horrific abuse Jeyne suffered at the hands of Ramsay. I think the showrunners knew they could never adapt what happened to Jeyne on screen, and thus, even if we had gotten her in the show, it would have been more akin to Sansa's treatment than what had happened in the book. I also think they were aware they could not put Sansa through what they did to Jeyne, given how beloved her character had become to show fans and the media. At the end of the day, I do think the changes made to the Vale and North storylines, especially swapping Jeyne for Sansa, was a poor choice, but I think even if they had adapted Jeyne, changes of the kind of abuse she suffered would have had to have happened regardless. I truly believe Jeyne Poole is arguably the most horrific and tragic character in the whole book series, and I'm interested to learn where her story goes in The Winds of Winter. I fear it will not end well.